Hello and welcome back to another review. Today we're taking a look at the Bionicle Rahkshi Turahk. I'm not going to have it this zoomed out the entire review, but I did want to get one shot showing the whole thing in frame, because this is pretty big for one of the older Bionicle sets. That's kind of the thing about these, they really did show off a really massive enemy. It worked for the big third-year villain. I mean, the big third-year villain was Pterodactyl, but you know, the other, like the mini boss. These all had unique staff ends and spines on the back, though the rest was just a color swap. We'll get into the collectible slugs, but as always, let's start this review off by taking a look at the articulation. Right, now do forgive mine, the joints have seemed to have lost a lot of their friction over time. But the head is on a ball joint. All the way around, way down here. Pretty far up. Could probably get a little bit more side to side, but that's just how the socket works. The arms, if you want to consider this articulation, but the shoulders are on a ball joint. Nothing at the elbow, uses the old slicer limb. Both hands are connected by the staff, so this is basically the best you're getting. The legs, though, are actually a massive step forward. This was the first time that there were articulated knees. The hips are the socket on the body style, which I mean was common at the time. This is what they used, but it does mean that there's not a ton of outward movement. That said, plenty of forward, plenty of backward. The knee is actually one of the better knees. It gets really deep, and it actually stops going forward. The ankles are the same ball joint. Go all the way down here for a thing, go all the way up. And for an ankle pivot, this is a pretty good range. Actually, it seems the joints have tightened up again. But I mean, you can get really nice, dramatic poses with these, with the articulation given. However, you'll notice that the arms can't actually hold a pose. And that's because there's no friction in the gear system, and as far as I can tell, there's no way to add friction to the gear system in any meaningful way. So, unless you want the staff on the ground doing that one signature pose, which I had it at the beginning, you're not really going to be able to put this in that many poses. Now, gimmicks and collectibles, obviously there's a gear function. I think I may have actually built this slightly wrong. I think I did this because I find this easier to turn, but I think this is using one of those old axle connectors, too longs, in the actual instructions. I can't remember, honestly. This I find works better, just using another one of the small gears. So if this is in the instructions, sure. If it's the other way, I changed it, but not a big deal. The thing is, this is actually a really effective gimmick, given the double-ended staff. It actually, even with just my thumb, it's a really fun gimmick. It's one of the better gear functions they had, because it's horizontal, so it does a lot more visually than just an arm swinging. And it doesn't look as goofy as both arms swinging up and down. Now, as for gimmicks, you can open up the back. Normally this is sort of stuck into that hole, but it does come loose a lot. And this is the collectible of the Rahkshi, the Krana, a slug, which apparently has legs. I find it's better just not to question it. Nothing printed on the inside or anything like that. There's no real collectible gimmick outside of just the shape and the color And there is an absolute ton of these, which I'll be putting up somewhere on screen. I don't even remember what this one is called, though I will say that the rubber is starting to break down. You can see a few splits in it. That's unfortunate. And I honestly, I can't tell if that's a problem with the dual molding or if it's just drying out over time. I think it might just be drying out over time. But let's pop that back in here. Also, I'm splicing this in, not because I forgot, I swear, because it's easier to have it with this lower camera angle. These guys can transform. They have a flight mode. Separate the staff, bring the legs up, fold the feet. Or is it up like that? I can never remember how the legs are supposed to go. The point is bring the feet together out in the front. They don't peg together or anything. Just like that. Bring the arms down, sort of. This is yeah, like that. Something like that. It looked dumb back in the day. It looks dumb now, but it's a thing you can do with it. This really feels forced. I'm gonna be honest. I don't like this at all. And your mileage may vary on how tight this is. On this one, it's fairly good. Sometimes they just pop right open. Anyway, let's move on to a side. Well, it's up against the back. Yeah, like I said, these guys are kind of massive, especially compared to the first Toa. That Mata torso kind of limited the size they could go to, but it means that these guys are absolutely massive. Granted, they're usually hunched over, so they're not quite this tall, but I mean, yeah, they're pretty big. And considering these things weren't that expensive at the time, it's pretty impressive just how large they managed to make them. Anyway, to wrap this review up, like I said at the beginning, this is a really good villain for a finale year. I mean, it ended up not being a finale year, but for a finale year, this is a really good villain, sort of a serpentine element of destruction. The articulation was honestly about average for the time, but the addition of knees was a massive step forward, and also the fact that the head is ball-jointed. Both of those things went on to be staples of the line. There's a reason this still holds true as many people's favorite villain. Well, set-wise at least. But that's all for this review. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. Be sure to subscribe for future reviews. I'm not going to be doing Bionicle reviews that often, but I'll throw one in whenever I feel like it. And as always, until next time, happy building.